And we're live.
Hello, UC Berkeley. This is a Grow on the Go series video to help establish baseline strategies for effective and meaningful difficult conversations. This video is produced by Berkeley People Culture's People and Organizational Development Team and is in collaboration between Employee and Labor Relations and Student Affairs. I'm Bianca Bowman-Waugh, Consultant with Employee and Labor Relations.
And I'm Sabina Morgan, Project and Policy Analyst in Student Affairs. We want to thank you for your time today and to let you know that there are a lot of great resources and support contacts linked in the video description below. Today, we're going to share ways to most thoughtfully and meaningfully prepare and engage in difficult conversations in the workplace.
I think it is so important to hone in on this subject at Berkeley because what might be difficult to one person might be a breeze for someone else.
I totally agree. And I think that's the point. We can always do better to empathize, to understand the perspective of the other person, and to have self-awareness about what works and doesn't work for others.
Right. And conversations that make us uncomfortable are happening everywhere. Actually leaning in and being aware helps us show our human side and learn about others more attentively. So while I think you and I agree that it's a good thing to recognize that difficult conversations are important, I think there are skills that can be taught, practiced, and refined to be more successful when having them.
Yes, practice. Well, practice makes perfect. Practicing this can also come with some feelings. Sometimes I think we're drawn to avoid the hard stuff, but I think we all know that avoidance does not solve problems.
Think about those times when you did not address a serious issue. When we don't have the hard conversations to get through the challenge, we tend to fill the space with assumptions and null hypotheses that don't give us the real story.
Putting this into a workplace context, managers and employees are navigating difficult conversations over Zoom, on the phone, email, chat, and in person. Employees at Berkeley are passionate and highly skilled. Sometimes all this great work creates healthy friction, and sometimes issues that need to be addressed appropriately with precision.
We are navigating the line between free speech and hate speech, balancing stakeholders in university processes. We are asking the community to engage in regular conversations about performance, goals, inclusion and belonging, collaboration and innovation, and we are experiencing what some might call a cultural reset around racial issues through the Black Lives Matter movement and through how COVID-19 has changed our work and life backdrops in so many measurable and immeasurable ways.
Engaging in productive, difficult conversations about our world, our work, individuals, and teams can be done through learning, skill building, and practice. At the end of the day, we are here to help each other grow. So, Bianca, how do you notice difficult conversations showing up at Berkeley?
Where to start? Bad news, asking for a raise, sharing feedback about behaviors or skills, ending a relationship, succession planning conversations, asking for something you need, making financial decisions, raising issues or complaints with a supervisor or someone else at a higher level, solving problems, conversations about performance deficiencies, discipline, changes in priority, or expectations.
This is such a great list, and I'm sure there are many more ideas that are coming to mind. I think it's also critical to recognize that our current global context plays a major role. Conversations about global pandemics, discussing identity, anti-racism, social movements, and new norms and adjustments in our lives with work-life integration or balance.
It is so important that we recognize how our world shapes our world at work, and that we actually give ourselves permission to address real things in the workplace in a way that includes diverse perspectives, and also ensures that we've done our part to support others and being their full self at work. We spend so much time with the people we work with, so let's do the great work to be better for ourselves and others.
We're going to take you through 3 levels of difficult conversations: the what happened conversation, the feelings conversation, and the identity conversation. While we unpack each of these, you'll have a chance to fill out a worksheet that gets you going on your way to your next difficult conversation.
From my experience as a consultant in employee and labor relations, no amount of practice will solidify the conversations will have no speed bumps or potholes, or that you will come away with exactly what you hoped for. This video and worksheet, however, will help you consider if, when, and how to have the conversation, and will map out your approach. If the conversation doesn't go so well, this worksheet can also be a compass for considering what to adjust for another time.
The first conversation is about substance. Who said what? Who did what? Who intended what? What did you each contribute to the problem? On the worksheet, this section highlights 3 areas: explore each other's stories, sort out contributions, and disentangle intent from impact.
A natural and often first response is to consider how your story is the right one. Usually, there is some honest core to the many sides of the story. In the understanding each other's stories section of the worksheet, you are not trying to prove your perspective right or their version wrong. You are really trying to explore the story and jot it down in a way that a third party might say, that view makes a lot of sense. Remember, the other person doesn't think they are wrong. Your focus is to attempt to understand their view as they might understand it. And this doesn't mean that you agree or give up your view.
The next part of the what happened conversation is about contributions to the issue. Generally, issues stem from many sides or action or inaction. Of course, there are exceptions, but it's seldom helpful to assign blame. This part of the worksheet asks us to reflect and explore how parties contributed to the problem and helps us better understand how we want to adjust the ways that we interact in the future. So, how have they contributed to the situation? How have I contributed to the situation?
Disentangle the impact. I think we always want to assume good intent, that people are trying their best to do their best on a regular basis. It's also important to recognize that impact supersedes intent. The what happened part is about the impact. The intent piece allows us to check where this is coming from, our purpose, and how our intent can make a major impact on ourselves or others. So, what was the impact on me? My intentions? What were their intentions? What was the impact on them?
Getting closer to truly understanding each other is where the magic happens in having difficult conversations. How do I feel about this situation? What might they be feeling? What feelings make sense to share? So why bother with addressing feelings? This helps us to get closer to understanding what people are really dealing with in their experience. This is about humanizing the relationship, the conversation, and the moment.
Sometimes when I'm getting to this point, I ask myself, what should I do with these feelings? Should I tell them how I feel? What do I do when they share their feelings? If there is anger, other emotions, then I start to make a list of feelings that pop up when I'm thinking about the situation I need to address. Maybe frustration, hurt, confusion, disappointment, anxiety, exclusion. There could be positive feelings that come about.
I do the same thing, Bianca. This helps me to really put things into perspective from my vantage point and create space for me to reflect on the other person's feelings, thinking about what they might be feeling and which of those feelings might be hardest to process for you and why.
This part of the worksheet is so important and reminds me that even if I'm aware, it doesn't mean that I need to express all of the feelings in a conversation. The feelings part of this is another ingredient to the recipe. People are surprising, so we shouldn't assume that someone who doesn't emote all the time doesn't have feelings. Think about this. If you were to say to someone, "Why are you so exclusive?" instead of, "I feel excluded," how might those responses differ?
If someone were to say to me, "Why are you so exclusive?" I'd probably put myself on defense or feel almost argumentative. When someone says, "I feel excluded," I jump to explore the conversation with empathy and curiosity. So now, with our what happened and feelings conversations unpacked, it's time for a conversation with the self about identity. This self reflection dives deeper into understanding how you show up in this space. What do I fear about this situation? What's true about this? What's not?
It's also a chance for you to validate the identity and self-image of those you are supporting. Think, what might the situation say about them that would be so upsetting to them? We are complex persons, right? We have many dimensions to our identities, and we generally observe ourselves as good, do no harm people.
The identity conversation with the self is so important so that we admit that while there may have been irresponsible action, the person is not irresponsible. We've all made missteps and mistakes, learned from them, and gotten stronger through the challenges. Think what identity issues might be triggering for them in the conversation. Are they reacting because you called them an incompetent professional or poor administrator instead of focusing on the action and behavior?
With strong preparation for the what happened, feelings, and identity conversations, we still need to solidify our purpose. We cannot go into the discussion thinking we are going to change or win someone over. Only they have the prerogative to adjust. Recognizing what we can and cannot change, start by listing the things you hope to get out of the conversation. There are 3 key areas that are helpful to all difficult conversations: learning, expression, and problem solving.
With learning, listen first to understand, then to be understood. With expression, you are the expert on you. Speak for yourself and how you are experiencing the problem. Share your version, interests, feelings, requests, and hold space for the other person to do the same. And problem solving. Once there has been a deep listening and perspectives have been shared, take the lead on problem solving. Try, what are some ways that we could move forward that could work for you?
Think about how you want to open the conversation by putting forward your purpose. Try, I hope to understand your thoughts on the problems and to share mine. Then I think we could work on solving the problem together. How does this sound to you?
This difficult conversation guide is set up as a universal checklist for preparing and engaging in conversations more confidently, competently, and with a whole lot of humanizing empathy. It's so important that we validate the whole person.
We understand that there are unique situations. For one-on-one support, you can contact your HR partner, the Staff Ombudsman's Office, and the Berkeley People and Culture Employee and Labor Relations team. Thank you for taking part in this strengthening of your skills around difficult conversations. Don't forget to access the preparation worksheet and further learning resources in the description below.